Hey kids, it's Mrs. Burnell here. We are going to be talking about one part of the surface area formula of a cylinder. So you should have already been introduced to this formula. It's a long one, right? Because there's two bases of the cylinder, and then you have the lateral surface area. So we're going to just focus on the lateral surface area. In other words, if you were looking at a can, we're only going to be finding out the surface area of the label, okay? So if we're going to only be finding the surface area of the quote unquote label of a can, we would only use 2 pi RH. Notice that the formula is in two parts. So the area of the bases, right? So if you have pi r squared, that's an area of one circle, but it's times 2 because there are 2 of them. And then the surface area of the lateral face right here, that's in blue. So you can see the difference, and then you take the sum of those, right? Because surface area is finding the area of all the base or all the surfaces and taking the sum of their surfaces. So like I said in this video, we're only going to be looking at the lateral surface area. Okay, so just the blue part, quote unquote, of the formula. All right, so let's go ahead and do one of those types of problems where they ask you just about the label. Okay, so I'm looking at example 2 in your textbook. If you wanted to follow along in the textbook, this is on page 371. Okay, so it says, how much paper is used for the label on the can of peas? Just the label. So we're looking at surface area of just the lateral surface. Okay, so going around here, we wouldn't look at the top or the bottom. We're not covering the can on the base, right? The two bases. So we're just looking here, this green label that says sweet peas on there. So notice the surface area of the lateral face is just here. All right, so 2 pi RH. So I'm going to cover up that work, and we're going to look at the formula, and we're going to do this together. So surface area, I always write the formula first that I'm using so I know exactly what to plug in. So lateral surface area of this cylinder. So the radius is 1. So I'm going to say R is 1. The height of our cylinder or our can is 2. So H is equal to 2. And we know it's in inches, and we'll label inches at the end. All right, so I'm going to plug in what I know into my formula. So surface area of the lateral face is going to be 2 pi. What is R? Well, it's 1. So times 1. Remember, this is all multiplied together. H is 2, so I'm going to put 2 in there. Okay, so I'm going to do all of the numbers I can do in my head first. So 2 times 1, remember, because it doesn't matter what order we multiply this in. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, so we have 4 pi. Now, in some books, you would leave it as 4 pi because that's the most accurate. Remember, because pi is an irrational number, it doesn't have any kind of pattern, but we're going to put that in our calculator because we can't tell a maker of labels, yeah, make this 4 pi inches squared. They're going to need a number, even if it's a decimal and it's a estimation. So I'm going to put in my calculator here 4 times 3.14, and it's 12.56. So surface area equals 12.56 inches squared. Now you may be asking, well, what if I use the pi button? So I know that if I turn this, right, I'll get the pi button in here. So I have 4 times pi, and then it puts in pi here. So sometimes kids think that's their answer. Now you have to hit equals, and it's 12.56637, all these numbers. But we're going to round to the nearest hundredth place. So it's 12.57. So really it's very close, right? So if we use the pi button, either one would be acceptable, right? But in the directions, when you take your quiz or test, we will tell you you can use pi. in your calculator, or please use 3.14, just so that way we can put in one answer. But either of these would be acceptable when finding this for your homework. Excuse me. So, like I said, this one was using the pi button. This answer we got from using 3.14, which is an estimate for pi, okay? And like I said, either would be acceptable. So let's take a look at what the book says and see this approximate, this little squiggly equals, right? It's approximately 12.56, or we could say it's approximately 12.57. It's only off by 1/100th of an inch, so that's not very much. All right, so then we would be able to tell our label maker that the surface area needed for the label would be 12.56 inches squared. And there you have it. That would be the answer. Okay, so when you go to do your practice, just be careful what the question is asking. How much paper is used for the label? That would be lateral surface area of the cylinder. If it says how much paper is used for the entire can or the entire cylinder, maybe it's a cylinder packaging, then you would find the entire surface area. So just be careful, read carefully, and then that will tell you which one you will need to use, whether it's the entire surface area of the cylinder or just the lateral surface area, okay? So if you have any questions, contact your teacher, and have a great week.